Alright, welcome to Tribulation 515, 2011. We have reached day 664 of my personal witness and testimony to the tribulation that is unfolding right in front of my eyes. Today is February 27th, 2013. It is a Thursday morning here in San Jose, California, and it is another glorious day out here in Silicon Valley. I tell you what, folks, San Jose is definitely, I would say, maybe one of the best places you could possibly live. While the rest of the world is experiencing just apocalyptic weather and climate change, earthquakes, typhoons, blizzards. Out here in San Jose, we wake up and it's, like 40 degrees. Like today, it's a clear, crystal blue sky, man, and just this glorious sun that's out there. And it warms up to about 75, 80 degrees. But that being said, I don't let the fact that I live in just the spectacular place in California, I don't let it hedge me in and create a bubbleized existence where, despite what seems to be just, awesomeness, that nothing's wrong. No, I look beyond the bubble and look at the big picture, and, there can be no doubt. If you are looking at the big picture, if your eyes have been opened and you've stepped back from the forest to where you can see the trees, that the world continues to spiral downwards into chaos, my friends. If this is your first time to the channel, I want to welcome you, and that means God bless you, that God has opened up your eyes to the fact that something's going on. There's still many people out there that have their heads in the sand, or that have hedged in lives where everything's going great in their life, so that's as far as their vision needs to go, and everything's all right. But God bless them too. All right, today I'm just gonna try and give a tribulation update. There's so much stuff going on right now, folks. I can't even get through it all in one video, but I got my little list. I take some notes, so I'm going to kind of go through those. A lot of times I try not to script things too much, but, there's so much stuff you got to write little notes on, what's happening out there. So in no particular order, where are we? Okay, I don't even know where to start, but let's just go with weather, man. The weather's just crazy. I was watching Suspicious Observers, his weather report he does every day, and he made a note that Wichita, that could be Wichita, Kansas, I do believe, but maybe there's another Wichita like Wyoming, but whatever Wichita he was talking about, it doesn't even matter, folks. But they just broke a 100-year record that has stood since, 1913, It's always those numbers, man, 1913, 1933, 1947, once again, the numbers always add up. But they just broke the 100-year record with this blizzard that's just sweeping across the country, which was 20.5 inches of snow in the month of February. It had stood for 100 years, and they just broke it. And that snow didn't fall. In the old record in 1913, that was for a month of snow, 30 days. But they did it in just 6 days. 6 days. So, looking at the weather patterns, Suspicious Observers brought it up, but all these huge lows, it's like these huge spikes, like highs and lows that keep generating all these tornadoes and blizzards and typhoons and hurricanes. But he said it sure as heck looks as though a mess load of arc storms are lining up in the Pacific, and I was looking at the satellite images he had, and man, it just looked like this huge leviathan that was about to creep on shore of the continental USA in the next week or so. So the Leviathan rises from the Pacific. And, if you haven't figured it out by now, America, we're in some really strange times, my friends, and I'm going to talk about it, because no matter where you look in America, things really aren't that good, But we got this Leviathan of an arc storm approaching. We got this huge earthquake watch going on, because we got a whole bunch of planets lining up in the first week of March. And, in February, we already had a shitload, pardon my French, of earthquakes in February. There was like a 6-point-something earthquake every 6 days. And then there was a whole bunch of them, in the Solomon Islands. And it's only going to get worse, my friends. But we're approaching a window for the next week or so of potentially huge earthquakes. If not today. I woke up this morning, there was a huge full moon on the western horizon. So, have some emergency supplies ready, water, a little bit of food, some batteries or whatever. And then, you look at the sun, and there was a filament that busted off, I think it was just early this morning or late yesterday. So there's a lot of radiation pouring in on the Earth right now. And there's these huge coronal holes. And, when you look at the satellite images, whatever filter it is they're using, when you're kind of looking at those images of the suns, the coronal holes look like dark holes on the sun. Even though technically, I don't believe they're dark. It's just the filter that makes them look dark, whatever filter they're using. But I got a theory. These holes are getting huge. I've never seen holes this big. I've been watching the sun now for almost 2 years, The holes that are up there right now just seem to be all connecting in some weird way, and the magnetic field around the sun is being turned off and on like a light switch. But a lot of my brothers and sisters have been talking about the 3 days of darkness. I don't know if that's actual literal darkness. We'll have to see. It might be just spiritual darkness. But what if the entire sun became one huge coronal hole? Because whatever magnetism or electricity, because what they figured out is that it's the skin of the sun is where all the energy and activity is happening. There's some kind of power there that's beyond all the nuclear activity that's in the interior of the sun, because the energies that we get from the sun far exceed the energies being generated from the center of the sun. So the majority of the energy that hits us just comes from the skin of the sun. But the coronal hole is almost like a dark skin kind of covering the sun. But what if the whole sun became one big coronal hole? What would that do? And what if it all just lifted away like a filament ripping off of the sun? Not a solar flare, but a filament lifting, and coming towards Earth. Or just one big massive coronal hole stream of energy. Because that's what those coronal holes do, is they just blast out energy. So if the entire sun was one big coronal hole, that'd be energy like we've never experienced, just impacting the Earth. I'm not a scientist, so who knows? I'm just speculating, folks. But we got this arc storm coming in. We got the Pope situation. He's stepping down. Amidst all sorts of scandal. The Cardinal of Britain stepped down amid scandal. And now the Pope, Benedict XVI, has written the rules where he's going to continue to be a Pope and dress in white, and he wants everyone to address him as holiness, but the Catholic Church, they're in the process of going into the conclave where they're going to elect the next pope, and everybody's tripping out on that. Nobody knows who it is. Everybody's thinking it might be some pope, a black pope from Africa. Hey, I don't have any problem with a black pope, but there's this thing out there called the Malachi prophecy. So whether it's a white pope or a black pope, everybody's kind of thinking the next pope, it's, may not be a good sign, And the way this one resigned, with all the scandal swirling and, all sorts of creepy, dark stuff within the Catholic Church. And God bless all people, whether you're Catholic or Mormon or atheist even, who cares, just because somebody goes to a Catholic church, that doesn't mean that they're connected to whatever cruelty or dark stuff is going on in the highest levels and principalities within any pyramidal, and that's what churches are. They're pyramids, hierarchies of power. So are corporations and governments. But we may have 2 popes, and whatever implications that means very soon. 322 is coming up. It's been popping up over and over and over again. It's an Illuminati number. It's, the Georgia Guidestones become 33 years old on March 22nd. There's a huge earthquake potential on that day from the 188-day cycle that has been hitting regularly for the last 2 or 3 years. But that's at the end of the month versus the beginning of the month. But I think we're just going to have massive loads of earthquakes all month long, man. And before I forget to mention it, this is like back on the 15th, I was watching TV, and, on Fox News and on several of the news channels, they actually had a countdown because there was a flyby of an asteroid, DA14, which kind of spells Dan because the 14th letter of the alphabet is N. But NASA, everybody was watching this satellite, and the news programs were sitting here saying, hey man, we're tracking this stuff, it ain't gonna hit Earth, you got nothing to worry about, and in the future we're gonna design some programs, to somehow deflect this stuff. So they literally had a countdown as this asteroid was flying by, but right as they were saying, hey, we got it all under control, nothing to worry about, a huge meteor comes flying in over Russia, the city Chelyabinsk, I think it was called. I may have mispronounced it. And it blows up with the force of 20 atomic bombs and injures over 1,100 people. Showing, that was God sending a message saying, hey, no matter how much you think you got things under control, you ain't got nothing under control. I got everything under control. So it's another apocalyptic sign. And 2 other meteors flew in that day. One over California, where I live, I didn't see it, and one over Cuba. And I think there's going to be more. And, I linked in a video. There's reports, that all the observatories down in the southern hemisphere, down in Australia, that they're all looking at these southern constellations, of like Aquarius, and where there's a star down there, Fomalhaut. But, there could be something approaching us, whether it's an asteroid, a solar system, a dark star, who knows? But, if you think the government is going to tell us the scoop, the truth of any of that, you got your head in the sand, or you live in a bubbleized existence, and you got your rose-colored glasses on, thinking that everything is hunky-dory. But no. Right now in this world, man, there is distortion fields everywhere, and especially when it comes to what's going on in outer space. But I actually think there is something coming out of Aquarius, those southern constellations. And if you look at the trajectory of that meteor in Russia, I think it kind of supports that. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. Politically, financially, things are just a mess. Here in the United States, our president, Barack Obama, God bless him. We should all be praying for him every single day because, man, there's so much crazy stuff around Barack Obama, it isn't funny. But, he's planning his first trip ever to Israel on March 22nd. Surprise, surprise, surprise. And, there's a movie coming out on March 22nd called Olympus Falling. You can pull it up on YouTube, Olympus Falling, but it's a movie about somebody attacking the United States and taking the president hostage, like the fall of the United States. And you know what? I don't know how, when, or where, and I'm not rooting for the fall of the United States, because I love America, man. I've lived here my whole life, but this country's been doing crazy stuff, and, like financially, we're just one day, 2 days away, on Friday, March 1st is what they call Sequestration Day, but that's just a big, long word for dumb people so they don't know what the hell's going on. I call it the Disarm America Day, but, technically, our politicians, and we should pray for all of them too, back in the summer of 2011, because they couldn't get the budget stuff figured out, and the debt is just out of control. You know, they said it's 37, let's just make it rounded up to $40,000 in debt every second, you know, the United States. So even in the time that I do this video, if it goes like 15-20 minutes, that's like another, you know, whatever that works out to, $50 million in debt that we're going. But we're beyond fixing anything. You know, the Fed is printing money like there's no tomorrow. We're on a, you know, it's a balloon being inflated. I did a video where it goes pop and it's just gone. But sequestration, you know, starts on Friday. They got to cut $85 billion, which is just a 2% of the overall budget, and they can't even do that. But it, you know, it falls squarely on our president. You know, if that whole thing screws up, it's his fault. And I'm not about blame, but you know what? He's the blame president. He's still pointing fingers at anybody but himself. You know, he's Mr. Teflon. He's never at fault. It's always somebody else. But no, you know, the truth is, it's Barack Obama's fault. And you know what? Ultimately, he's the president. He's the one that could be managing this. But you know what? He's out there even today. And you know, he's fear-mongering, and you know what, it's like typical politicians, because even here in California, anytime they talk about cutting, the first things they cut are the things that hurt the most. And they want to hurt us, because the more they hurt us, the more fear, the more panic, and then they can say, hey, let's raise taxes through the roof, and everybody's like, oh yes, if it means turning the water back on, you know, if it means picking the garbage back up, you know, and that's kind of what Obama's doing. You know, he's saying, hey, as of Friday, the sky is falling, and you know, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the air traffic controllers and the people who check on food. You know, rather than cut the waste, you know, I'm going to get rid of the essential stuff so that you really feel this, and then you'll know that, you know, you need to give us more money. And hey, my friends, we're slowly being enslaved. We're enslaved already, but we're being fed into the machine. 2013, year of destiny. You know, a lot of people think like money might disappear this year. We go to all electronics, you know, get a chip. You know, we're almost pretty much there. We really are. You know, between credit cards and everything's electronic. But the United States, man, you know, it's amazing, because our president, you know, he's fear-mongering, and when the sequestration goes into effect, he's going to be the administrator of pain, you know. Rather than trying to make life comfortable for people, he's going to make it as painful as possible for us, to show us how wrong it is to try and actually cut spending, you know. But that's all happening on Friday, and Obama's going to Israel on March 22nd. You know, we got this movie, Olympus Falling, coming out on the 22nd. You know, Denver. You know, kind of interesting. Denver, Colorado, you know, I showed you, it's actually over on Operation End Times, but, or maybe I'll put it on this channel, you know, I'll have to check, but I showed the pyramid of power that's formed in the United States, and it's an occultic pyramid between Denver, Phoenix, and, what was it, Kansas City? I don't know why my mind's going blank, but it's where the Timothy McVeigh disaster happened, Oklahoma City. But it forms an occultic pyramid of blood sacrifice with Denver at the top. And of course, you know, Denver is kind of like a seat of power for Obama. You know, when he gave his acceptance speech back in 2008 at the Democratic National Convention, he did it at the Denver Coliseum, and he had the Greek throne of Apollyon as the background. But it also forms the top of that pyramid of power that I was showing you, the occultic pyramid of power. You know, mile high. You know, the mile high city. But Joe Biden, you know, there was an article on the websites. He's out there right now. You know, Obama's pushing for gun control, and they want Denver, Colorado to be kind of like the state that pushes that forward. So Joe Biden is actually trying to influence state politics, which is something that doesn't happen a whole lot, where the feds try and manipulate things at the state level, but he's doing it directly. you know, because Denver is a seat of power for Obama. But it's funny because Colorado just legalized pot, and you know, Obama, I thought he'd be the pot president, but he's not. You know, him and Eric Holder, they continue to persecute and be anti-pot. But just kind of, you know, weird how the state legalized pot, and it's a seat of power for Obama, and yet Obama, you know, either he's lying to us, which could be the case, you know, but why, if he does support legalization of pot, why is he, you know, prosecuting it? And I know that because I'm over here in California, and you know, Eric Holder and all them guys were causing all sorts of havoc. You know, and you know, some people may be for legalization of pot, some may be against legalization of pot. But see, me, what I'm against is just the government controlling every aspect of my life, whether it's guns, pot, my health, whatever. You know, what I want controlling my life is God. You know. But Denver's kind of like this focal point, and you know, I do believe there's going to be things happening. You know. Coming out of Denver, man, in the near future, you know. You know, globally, things are a mess. You know, Israel, you know, they just lobbed a bunch of rockets into Israel from the Gaza Strip. The peace that's been there is kind of being pushed to the limit. In Egypt, they just had this big hot air balloon disaster which killed 19 people. And there's all this reports of weapons being sold through Egypt to support the terrorists. Syria is a complete mess. The radical Islamists seem to be winning, you know, which it really isn't good news. And Iran is still marching full steam ahead for their nuclear weapons capability, and North Korea too. You know, they had a story of Dennis Rodman was in North Korea. You know, that's part of the distortion, because on the news you see Dennis Rodman and some other Americans over there having a good time, and you're thinking, oh, North Korea isn't all that bad. And what they don't show you is the concentration camps and millions of people starving to death. You know, and the fact that North Korea is still hell-bent on getting weapons and using them, you know. And I don't think we're doing anything to really stop it, you know. So, you know, there's really not a whole lot of good news out there. But here in San Jose, it is an awesome day, and there are good things happening. I can guarantee you that. I'm going to try and put up a video over on Operation End Times. I'm going to try not to sing another song, even though I may, but I'll try and also just put up something like this. But, you know, there's a lot of positive stuff happening, and especially in my life directly, you know, there's miraculous stuff happening. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on Operation End Times. You know, I've been kind of doing what I call my walk on water, you know, and it's really hard for people that have their eyes closed to understand that. But I'm diabetic, and, you know, ever since December or so, you know, my state health care kind of ran out. I was filing for disability. That didn't get approved, and it may not get approved. And I don't even care if it does, because I don't feel disabled. But the system pushed me into filing for disability, if you can believe that. You know, the state of California, because I was collecting the health care and a little bit of food stamp support, you know, they said, oh, you need to go file for disability with the feds. So I did, and they denied it. So the system is basically crumbling and has been shut off to me, but I really don't care, because I'm kind of putting my faith in God above all else. But you know, I've been doing my thing where my medications have run out, so I've been, you know, as a diabetic, I've been just living without medications, and it's been going pretty much all right. I like it, you know, because guess what? Pills, they'll kill you too. You know, that's the other little dirty secret, you know, is most of the medications that we are given through modern science, you know, help us but hurt us at the same time. So, that's been my own little walk on water, because every day I got to be thankful for just being alive, making it through one more day without my medications. You know, it requires exercising and being very careful of what I eat. So every day is an adventure, and every day is putting my faith in God and in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's right. You know, He is the way, the truth, and the life, and I'm still alive, giving my testimony to the tribulation. But I'm also going to make sure I give tribulation to the glory of God that's out there, man, because I'm telling you, there's just some beautiful stuff happening. So as the darkness envelops the world, and things just keep looking dire and dire, part of my goal is going to be to make sure that we also see the beautiful stuff, the silver lining, the rainbow in the sky. So, if you can, do something nice, get your head screwed on right, figure out what's important, where's your treasure? Is it in a pile of gold here on the earth? Or is it maybe looking forward to future events, future things, a better world, than the one that we're living in that's crumbling literally beneath our feet. All right, hey, stay positive, keep on smiling, keep on keeping on, stay thirsty, my friends. If you're a star, keep shining. The world needs as much brightness as possible, because there's a lot of people walking around in darkness, in fear, in bitterness, and it's going to get worse for them until they see the light. All right, hey, God bless, and I'll catch up with you.